Good night and welcome to the Galen Hour. The Galen Hour is back with season 8. I get the pleasure tonight and for this rest of the season to host the Galen Hour with Dr. Dorian Barrow, a lifetime educator and the current director of Galen University's STEM, Robotics and AI office. Welcome, Dr. Barrow.
Thank you very much, Ms. Diana.
Yes, so the Galen Hour, as you know, is a production of Galen University. It focuses on academic excellence, it promotes sustainable development, and it embraces lifelong learning. So those are the three pillars of our university on which we are built, on which we do a lot of what we do. But the Galen Hour really is a special production, and we use it to educate and to share information. Tonight, our topic is Galen University Pioneering Education in Belize. And this season is going to focus on AI education and innovation culture. So yes, Galen University Pioneering AI Education in Belize. So we will look at artificial intelligence, how it's changing and impacting our society, the way we teach, the way we learn, the way we work, right? So AI is no longer in the future, right, Dr. Barrow? It is in the present, and so we cannot shy away from it, and Galen absolutely is taking the bull by the horn. And so we're here for this season to talk about AI and an innovation culture and looking at how education is impacted by AI. I am Diana Gomez Perifit. It is always a pleasure to be here with you on Wednesday nights. We have in studios with us our two guests for this first episode of season 8. We have a member of our board of trustees, Mr. Hugh O'Brien. Welcome, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Ms. Diana, and it's a pleasure to be on this show. And good night to all the listeners and viewers out there in Love FM land.
TV and Love FM land. We are streamed live on social media and Facebook, so we are also being viewed on social media. I also want to welcome Mr. Hiram Ochayeta, who is the director of our Digital Strategy and Strategic Management Office. Welcome, Mr. Hiram.
Thank you, Melina. Good night to everyone. Thank you for having me here.
All right, so this season promises to be quite stimulating. It's absolutely going to be relevant. Very good information will be shared, and we're educating ourselves. We need to be educated about what AI brings to the table and the benefits and the weaknesses of AI and how best to incorporate it into life and into education and into business. We will take a quick first break, and we will be right back and start with our questions. Stay tuned for the Galen Hour.
Oftentimes, it only takes a spark to ignite the fire that burns inside of us. At Galen, we're committed to academic excellence, and our student-centered service is available to all our Eagles. You too can become a Galen Eagle.
Hello, my name is Jarrell Velasquez, and on behalf of Galen University, I would like to extend an invitation for men to come back to school. Young, old, near, far, wherever you are.
It all starts with a question. What if I really could become a Galen Eagle? And suddenly, the answer feels closer than ever. Get your eagle on. Come soar with the Galen Eagles.
Welcome back to the Galen Hour. We're talking tonight about AI and innovation culture and Galen University pioneering AI education in Belize. And we'd like to start our discussion by asking Mr. Hugh O'Brien to tell us a little bit more about what Galen University's ambitions or assertions are regarding artificial intelligence.
Well, you know, the artificial intelligence platforms have really taken the world and Belize by storm. And the staff at Galen has had to make adjustments in how they teach and how they assess students going to school. But to a large extent, in the initial, not within Galen per se, but within the context of Belize, the initial reactions towards artificial intelligence mostly by people who are traditional in their mindset was that, oh, this is going to be a major problem for our students and for learning. And many teachers that I spoke to were, I don't want to be teaching anymore because these programs and these opportunities for the children is just way out of whack. But within Galen, I must say that the staff of Galen realized this, that there is an opportunity and there are challenges as well. But there's also great opportunity. And at the Board of Trustees level last year, we had great interaction with the staff, and we sent a very clear signal, supported by the staff of Galen, I must say, fully supported, that Galen will embrace artificial intelligence. Galen will aim to be one of Belize's leading institutions that embraces and teaches their students to use artificial intelligence to be better performers, to produce better products, and to be better workers in the field of work. Galen itself is going to be moving more and more into integrating, as you saw that ad just now. It looks simple but very effective. Integrating more of AI in our own, within the institution itself, in terms of people applying, finding out about their grades, and also finding a way to interact in a way that you don't have to be staying on a telephone line for too long. We will do our best to make sure that along the way, what we do is enhance the ability of our staff and our students to produce more and better. So we will not get rid of the personalized interaction that is absolutely necessary to have good relationships. With that in mind, I will pass on to Hiram, Mr. Ochaeta, who is more of an expert on this. I am just an idea kind of guy, to speak a bit about what Galen may be already doing so that the potential students out there and the employers of our students know what they may be getting when they employ one of our graduates.
Thank you, Mr. Hugh. As a matter of fact, what you mentioned just now is true. Our students, AI is second nature to them. They have grown with these tools, and so administration, faculty have to embrace these tools, and not only embrace them, but also guide the generations or students on how to use the tools. So, for example, a professor may be using AI already to look at and evaluate whether the assessments that they have are relevant in today's age. Other professors are using it also to, for example, do some data analytics with the courses as well. There are some tools already available that some professors are using that allow them to basically provide all the resources or all the sources for the students, and the students are able to get or generate a podcast that will describe all these resources that they have, and so they can understand the content even better.
Excellent. One of the leaders in AI, you've probably heard of him, Lee Rainey, has said that the world is still reeling from the social, political, and economic impacts of 4 what he calls technological revolutions over the last 3 decades. The first was, and I guess you guys can remember that, the internet broadband revolution. Then came, of course, the mobile connectivity revolution, followed by the social media revolution. And now we have the artificial intelligence revolution. It is really and truly revolutionary. And my question is, how do you see Galen, or how do you envision Galen being, AI being incorporated into the business as usual in Belize? How can Galen help to change this culture of the way how we do business in Belize?
If I can answer some of that. Yes, like you mentioned, well, actually business is not as usual anymore with AI being there. So AI impacts all industries. It can impact, for example, the financial industry, banking system, for example. The way they evaluate loans, for example, they can have tools to pretty much do the analysis for the loans officers. The insurance companies can also use AI or leverage the use of AI tools to also do some risk assessment as well, to understand whether they would maybe take a risk or insure a particular risk or not. Agriculture sector is also changing with the advancement of robotics, drones, and 3D imaging. So it's how Galen can have an influence in terms of generating the courses that will teach the students to lead those initiatives in the industries in Belize.
Mr. O'Brien, I know that you are also a businessman, an agriculturalist. what can
A newsman too, they sometimes.
Media.
and that too, and news. Oh yes, I forgot about that. How do you see AI being useful to the type of business that you're in, particularly the agro-business and the agro field in the country?
Well, I'd like to speak about that a bit, but even before we get there, I think there's a great role for artificial intelligence in government generally. I won't even say artificial intelligence, even just using basic technology. I mean, people are still walking around with files, physical files in offices in government, and they still have this load of records that it's not being managed well. People still have, you go to offices and you get this come back tomorrow kind of mindset. You submit applications and your documents are lost. So there's a whole, just using technology within government and business, because it's not only within government. You go to private sector businesses, and many of them themselves lose your documents, they lose your application, they can't find your grades or your past records and so forth. So these things are real challenges for individuals who expect faster responses and more effective action. In terms of agriculture, we do have a great potential to enhance the agricultural productivity, not only in Belize, across the world. And countries that embrace the use of modern technology, artificial intelligence, modern technology, even meaning the modification of genes, predicting what the outcomes would be, using drones, there are technology now that's being developed where instead of using herbicides, you use a laser or a heat-based, and the machine passes over your field and picks out the weeds from the plants and just essentially kills the weeds, and so leave your plants intact. You can apply your fertilizers using while it's traveling, the drone is traveling, it is picking up which area of your field has high enough nitrogen, and then it makes an adjustment in its application along the way. So these are technology that some people in Belize have embraced, like for example the survey components where your land is being leveled and the curves being given for drainage using higher technology, and you're speaking to these machines, and the planters are becoming even more high-tech. So there's a lot of opportunity, and you even have the scope for robots to harvest. We have a major labor shortage in Belize right now for citrus, for sugarcane, for bananas, for arcade beans, and so there's even space for robots to be involved in harvesting and planting, and this is going to transform. Some countries are going to be leading in the production of certain goods. Other countries are going to fall behind. And those that embrace technology may have a greater chance of survival.
That's an interesting point that you brought up about the labor shortage, because one of the fears associated with this technology, especially the robotics part of it, is that we're going to be losing jobs. But you are saying that is not the case. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
I don't subscribe to that philosophy. I'll tell you why. History has proven that the more and more you embrace technology, in fact, when computers came of age, people also felt that there would be a massive loss of jobs. And in fact, what has happened to those of us who are employed or who are business, we find that we have become busier. Even though you have technology to make your job, because you're able to produce more, you're able to generate more results from less time, from less time, but you then take that time to try to generate more and more. And so you get caught up in to a large extent, the technology makes you, one person can produce a massive amount of information and products, and therefore there's room for other people to do other things. And so life is transforming and changing in a way where, to a large extent now, people aren't involved in planting at the farm level as much as they were 150 years ago. In the United States, 200 years ago, during the Western days, everybody were cattle ranchers and farmers. But as technology changes now, it takes only less than 1% of the population in the U.S. to produce the food, not only for the U.S. population, but for a large part of the world, and they do export a large quantity of food. And so but you don't have the unemployment and so occurring, even though there are less people involved in producing food. So I would say technology will allow for new opportunities, and those who don't embrace it will find themselves be left on the wayside, and those who embrace it will find themselves being able to grow. So with that in mind, Galen is going to grow and grow to higher heights because we're embracing it. Any institution that chooses not to embrace AI is going to possibly have challenges in the future.
What's your take on that, Mr. Ocheta? You're not only a digital project manager, but you've been an instructor, and I've also been an entrepreneur. What is your take?
Yes,
Because that's kind of like a hard sell to some people, right? And I think we really have to harp on some of the things that Mr. O'Brien has said.
Yes, it's a fear that a lot of people have, but it's really not a founded fear. As a matter of fact, like Mr. Hugh was saying, it provides opportunities every time we embrace technology. If, for example, somebody is using mechanized farming, for example, they need somebody to repair the machine as well if it fails. So similarly, a lot of the technology that's going to happen, AI is able to, for example, be used to do some type of analysis, but you need somebody to also make sure that the AI is generating the correct analysis. So people that embrace AI, learn about AI, and use the tools, they're the ones that are going to be being employed.
Oh, that's an excellent answer, yes.
Yeah, so AI is obviously a valuable tool, but this is where academia and education comes in, that we must guide learners in effective use of AI. But with the advent of AI, AI has been around for a while, but with ChatGPT and about 2022 or so, where there's just been this abundance. An explosion. Revolution, yes, Doc. We've seen the emotions have changed. And so maybe the people still carrying files, and people are fearful of change, especially one that there's a myth that it will take our jobs. Some people are enthusiastic, some are apprehensive, well, that's fearful, but some are excited. So the emotions are plenty. And so it is really important for us to educate our people on how to use AI, but to understand that AI they're not human. They don't have that intuitive, insightful aspects that humans still have.
Yes, right. Yeah.
We hope they never.
But one of the major challenges of Belize as a society is our basic reactive nature. Things happen and then we react to it. And I am a firm believer that if we're going to get ahead of the curve with this AI, it has to be policy driven. So the question is, as a board member, Hugh, how do you feel about an AI policy, and what would you want to? You have already indicated that we're saying that we're supposed to embrace it, right? But what really do you mean by that? What do you want us to do at Galen when you say that we are embracing it? And Mr. Ram, if you could tell us what are some of the ways in which we are embracing it?
Well, at the board level, the details in terms of what Galen would do is not kind of decided. The general philosophy or policy directive is like, this thing is out there. There's a degree of fear, especially from educational institutions, because students can go and they can write their essay, and so there was a narrow focus, I would even say. And so I'm glad that Galen has already found ways to allow students to do that, but then also to make sure that in generating your assessments and also your system of grading and valuing the product of the student, you integrate the use of artificial intelligence, and you not have that strictly replace the student idea of generating concepts, because if you can't generate concepts, you can't generate good thought for yourself, then you will not be able to embrace AI and use AI to produce the results that you want, because then your common sense become too narrow-minded. And if you don't have a very strong sense of or common sense. You can't even, you will tell AI to do things that doesn't make sense, and you'll get stupid and bullshit results, if I can use those terms, right? Now, even more important though, is that our students would be able to access the technology and use it to generate products and results, generate content. You could, like you did with Galen just now, that Jarrell Velasquez advertisement, and they make it better, you know, and do movies and robotics and automation in having systems work better in the country, automating the filing system, automating this. And so if your students can come out of school and in fact, I know there's I'd like to use a very simple example that we have in Belize. It's a major problem for all of us. There's one day I left San Ignacio and I went to Corozal, to a village called Shunush, and I passed 9 checkpoints going. 9 checkpoints. I went quick in Santa Elena. There was one in Belmopan. There was one there was somewhere between Belmopan and Belize City. Then I passed one in Hattiville. Anyway, 9 checkpoints, and at 3 or 4 of the checkpoints there were these BDF soldiers with some big guns. And then I was taking like 2 or 3 tourists in my vehicle, and they asked me a simple question like, why those big guns? What is the purpose of these checkpoints? And I really couldn't answer the question. And even before that, I had been thinking like, why these checkpoints? They are looking for, and they're asking you for your driver's license or your license for your vehicle or the insurance. And when you realize it, that in 1 year, that I licensed my vehicle for a year, I passed 300, 400 of those, 500 of those points, and they ask, sometimes they ask, sometimes they don't ask, but it's a waste of human resources to have a police or a traffic officer or a transport officer from the town council or wherever to be asking and checking. You take your phone, or one of our Galen students can easily design an app. I'm sure Hiram can design an app, and you could either plug in the or tell the app by voice the license plate number for the vehicle, or you take a picture of it and it transforms itself, and then that license plate gives you the owner of the vehicle. It could tell you if the vehicle is licensed, it's insured, when it's going to be up, and so on. In fact, you can integrate even when it was inspected, what all inspections it passed, did the reflection lights work, did the signal light work, and so on. You could check all of those on the phone, so the policeman can, or the traffic guy can, without even stopping you, and then maybe every 20 vehicle, pull that one on the side and do a thorough check. And we have a more efficient system. Instead of these long lines. That was earlier this week when I had the house meeting on Friday, actually. In my village, there was a checkpoint, and that line of vehicle was about 3 miles up the road. Imagine how much fuel we are wasting. So this kind of dead-end situation only creates opportunities for using artificial intelligence to solve some of these problems. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yes, it does. But it also requires training. What kind of training capacity, Hiram, you think has to go on for us to be able to reach that level that Hugh is in fact talking about? It begins with policy, right? They have to decide that this is the way how they want to go. But what level of training you think is necessary for us to get there?
Yeah, so definitely, well, before I answer your question, I wanted to say, I saw the other day an image that was saying that artificial intelligence is increasing, but let's not have natural intelligence decrease. So that's important. Like Mr. He was saying, we need to teach students to conceptualize, to be critical thinkers. And so it starts from there. Professors engaging AI, but also knowing how to use AI, also teaching students to use AI with guardrails. So not just going and saying, well, give me the answer for this question that I need for a quiz. No, it's how do you use the tool? And so that's where the policies come in. How is it going to be used in the classroom? What instances of AI, for example, will be allowed? What tools will be allowed? And that also needs to be clearly stated in the syllabus for students to follow. students need to know what they can use and what they cannot use. And of course, if it's right out copying and pasting, that's not an option. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that AI literacy should become a part of the core curriculum of the country, where everybody begin to understand what are the principles on which it is based, and they begin to be able to use it in an ethical way.
Dr. B, coming from an educator of educators, how do you see AI impacting pedagogy and how we teach our teachers to teach?
Well, in a very significant way. It can help teachers, first of all, to learn to plan and prepare for teaching. Teachers complain that is one of the most time-consuming aspect of this job. To plan, you do unit plans, do lesson plans, plan and prepare for teaching. So it can help with that. As a matter of fact, tonight I have a class that I'm teaching where we're insisting that teachers use AI in their instruction. And tonight we're having Dr. Coleman to give a guest talk on that in terms of how they can do that. She has in fact developed one software that you could use, but there's a lot available. So that is one way. It can also help in assessment, right? In assessment, that is also another time-consuming activity, right? Where many of the assessment tasks that we give is structured in such a way that they can be AI assessed, right? So what that does, Miss D, is to help the teacher to free up time so that they could spend it with working with individual students, doing a lot more personalized learning. So that's another way in which AI can be very instrumental. And we at Galen are insisting that the teachers, they begin to use this tool. It is not free, right? It is not free, although there are some free versions. It is not free, so we're also trying to change the culture, the thinking of the teachers, and trying to get them to invest in themselves, right? When you subscribe to one of these AI algorithms or that will help you to that will reduce the time that you spend on routine activities, so that you could spend more quality time working with those students who need the help most, right? Is a particularly good thing for the student, but it's also an important thing for their own professional development.
Fantastic. Doc, we're at the point where we take a quick break. We're halfway through our show. Show always goes, time goes fast when we're enjoying, and the conversation is this important. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned to the Galen Hour.
Welcome to a world of endless possibilities where academic excellence meets the beauty of nature. Join us at Galen University in beautiful Belize, where we always excel.
Galen University, more than just a place to study.
Oftentimes, it only takes a spark to ignite the fire that burns inside of us. At Galen, we're committed to academic excellence, and our student-centered service is available to all our Eagles. You too can become a Galen Eagle.
Hello, my name is Jarrell Velasquez, and on behalf of Galen University, I would like to extend an invitation for men to come back to school. Young, old, near, far, wherever you are.
It all starts with a question. What if I really could become a Galen Eagle? And suddenly, the answer feels closer than ever. Put your eagle on. Come soar with the Galen Eagles.
Welcome back to the Galen Hour. We're talking tonight with Mr. Hugh O'Brien, member of the Board of Trustees of Galen University, Mr. Hiram Ochayeta, who heads our Digital Strategy and Strategic Management Office. I have the pleasure of co-hosting with Dr. Dorian Barrow, who heads our STEM, Robotics, and AI office. We're talking about AI and how it transforms, it's transforming everything that we do, looking at education, and Dr. Barrow just shared some really vital information about how it is going to be impacting pedagogy. I want to start back with Mr. Hiram and ask him how we see AI poised to transform administrative processes.
Yes, definitely AI can help administrative processes in making things more efficient. So, for example, things that we need to analyze where a student is, for example, failing, we can use data to do that. Or, for example, we're doing an exercise where we're doing our scheduling, and so we can list all the programs that, all the courses that are related to the various programs, which students are taking those courses, how many students will need it next semester. So we can use AI to analyze that data and make decisions more effectively.
Yes. So information will be at our fingertips even more.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So retention, it can help us to deal with retention, as you were in fact saying, and it can help us to analyze student success matrix, etc. But what about overall institutional management?
And there are AI tools that are being developed that would allow us to offer specialized tutoring to that student, so that that student doesn't end up failing but ends up passing, and speed up the ability of them to learn.
That is
address their weaknesses.
That is correct. That is one of the things that AI can in fact do, personalized learning, we call it, right? Where we deal with what exactly are your learning difficulties, right? And we move you from where you are to where you're supposed to be by the end of the course. But what about the overall institutional management? Right.
Well, definitely for insight gathering, for the overall management to see the numbers, for example, AI can help to provide the data. No? Once we have the data there, give insights as to what's happening in the university, for example, number of enrollment. AI can help us to make decisions based on that data. So that's one way that AI can help.
Just in terms of enrollment, how do you plan on using AI to
Oh my goodness.
continue to boost the
So
you're doing a wonderful job without AI.
No, but we definitely welcome the tools that can make our job easier and more efficient and more effective. We do marketing and admissions, and certainly we are, the office that I work in really is tasked with increasing enrollment every year. And having that data just so readily available for analysis. And and we're not quite there yet, but we are working on digitizing Galen University, and Mr. Ochayeta can tell us a little bit more about that, so that we can actually use our data to identify where we need to step in, because we know that people apply, then they don't confirm admissions. We have a whole database of those individuals that we are still part of our prospective students that we want to work with. Also to look at where we're going in the future, what types of courses will be in demand. The whole AI is changing everything, so we need to look at what are the demands of our people and our society. We pride ourselves in catering to the needs of our people in Belize, and so we need to keep our fingers on the pulses of the pulse of the nation and know what we need to put in place when. And I would see AI allowing us to do that. Do we need to go to every class or to every school to recruit. Maybe not. I love the example that Mr. Hugh gave, where why are traffic officers at all these points? I mean, it's a lot of human labor that we could avoid, right?
Well, jobs, a lot of jobs.
But it's jobs. And this is why we need to start educating our workforce for the near future, because things are changing and we don't want to lose individuals or have them fall by the wayside because they are not equipped for what's coming. We see it coming. It's here. It's only going to get more advanced, right? So yes, Dr. B, there are lots of room for retention, enrollment, recruitment, the admissions process that I can see, and marketing, absolutely. AI is fantastic. The tools that are available for marketing right now are fantastic.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Hiram, would you be able to give us some heads up on the digitization project that you're working on, so that Galen is not just talking the talk, but is walking the walk? How are we walking the walk now in terms of digitization?
Yes, well, digital transformation is, well, one thing that we mentioned, right? It involves people, involves processes, involves technology, of course, facilitates all that. So it's about education as well. No, that's why I said people. People will need to adapt new technologies, may affect their workflow. But at the end of the day, the objective is to make them more efficient in what they do, so that they can produce more with what is available. And so the tools that, or the technologies that will be implemented will facilitate that. Ms. Diana, for example, was mentioning about, okay, the admission recruitment process, how does that work? So it's a matter of looking at the entire interaction with the students, so a 360 view from admissions, how they process through the university all the way to graduation. So what tools we can implement to facilitate the engagement with the students, and how we can, as administration, for example, monitor their engagement with the university, and how we facilitate their learning. So tools for teachers as well. So it encompasses encompasses administration. Also, how can we facilitate teachers, for example, to do research? What tools are available? And talking about that, there are AI tools that the university already has access to, that our students have access to as well, that will facilitate. These are, they don't have to pay for them. Once they're enrolled with Galen, they'll have access to these tools. But it's a process, and so I'm excited about it.
So that's a question at the board level we have not addressed, but I would want to maybe ask here, because I think the institution can purchase some of the tools that are already on the market, and so have the students use those tools and start to get exposed even more to the potential that is out there. So maybe you could give a couple of examples of which tools we have our students already using that Galen has procured, or that at least you have procured.
For example, we have Microsoft Copilot, so students can use that to do AI generation and also create chatbots, for example. We also have access to Google's Gemini, the paid version, the premium version, so students don't have to pay for that. We have access to NoteLM. And what I like about NoteLM, for professors and for researchers, for example, and I'm doing that as we speak this semester, where I provide the syllabus to my students, all the resources, and that will eliminate some of my office hours. They can
So the students have access to these tools and they don't have to purchase it for themselves.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Once you are enrolled at Galen, you have access to these tools.
That's correct. That's correct.
Right? Copilot, you said?
Gemini Premium, though.
Yes.
Premium. Right?
Gemini Premium and
NoteLM.
And NoteLM.
NoteLM.
I want to ask maybe a question to you all, if you don't mind. I'm not the host, but because one matter that while I embrace AI and I want to see us moving forward and training our students to be able to generate as well, products that would be considered AI products. I also am aware that there's this caveat, there's this thing that will always loom: facts. What is fact and what is just emotions and fiction. And I say that, let me just to use an example. If I ask Gemini about, say, for argument's sake, pick the National Institute of Culture and History niche. And for some reason, the niche, somebody wrote an article about niche saying that their finances aren't audited. So that's out there, and so people commented on it. Then when you ask Gemini about niche, they say, oh, niche is an institution that is unaccountable, has no audit, and nobody knows what they're doing with their money. But by law, niche might be required to produce audited financial statement. Or let's use Galen, a perfect example. So Galen financial audits aren't out there in the public because what is submitted to the board of directors and as the board of trustees. But some student or might write out there and they post virtually that, oh, Galen, collect this money, and they don't know what the money is used for, and there's no audit, and there's no accountability, and so forth. And that trends online, that's sentiment, that's not fact. But the reality is that Galen does do an annual audit. It's audited financial statements is submitted, and it's, and so forth. It's even lodged with the company's registry. But that information is not publicly out there. So if you ask Gemini, you ask ChatGPT, you ask one of the chat box, whatever you call them, I don't know all their names, they may tell you that, oh, Galen is an unaccountable, not financially responsible, which would not be a correct fact.
Yes, this is one of the reasons why this AI literacy is critical, right? Because there are limitations to AI. Hallucinations, that's what we're in fact talking about, where they just make things up. And the AI literate person is the person who first of all operates from that assumption, right? That they have to fact check. They have to fact check these things. They have to fact check these things. And that is one of the big challenges with using these large language systems like ChatGPT and Gemini and that kind of thing, right? One of the solutions is to use small language models, right? Where the data itself, right, is confined to that particular model, right? Where you have control, you have control over that particular data. And part of the AI literacy education is exposing people to these kinds of issues associated with this. What is otherwise an excellent technological advancement, right? But it does have these limitations. Another important limitation is what they call algorithmic bias, right? You see, the AI has to be trained, right? Has to be trained. And if you train the AI in a biased way, that is what it learns, right? And it can produce things that reflects that bias. So the AI literacy, right, is very, very, very important. It's a key policy issue.
I think sometimes we need to also remember privacy and data security.
Yes,
People would take their personal information and data and plump it into ChatGPT or one of those and have it generate information for them, not realizing that that's storing all of that information.
Exactly.
And so I believe there is that security of your data, that privacy of what you put out there into AI to generate information for other people that may very well become of concern, right? So I think there's caution that people need to exercise when using these tools, and it comes with understanding them.
And I think that because of that, and because of what the point I made and the presentation by Dr. Barrow, I think that increases the role of university education. So while people may think that universities will disappear with AI, that's a major mistake in mindset I think that people are making, because the universities are going to be key to ensure that these young people that we are putting out into the workforce do not carry on a bias of in terms of data collection and analysis, that they have a fact check, they have a rational approach, they have the respect for personalized data, and also that if you're going to do research, you cannot, research is research, it's opening new avenues. You cannot assume that what is there is what you're going to put out as your research. There's respect for past data and so these are important foundations to be able to build and use AI with a certain amount of, I think the word I heard, some kind like how the Mennonites, they put on the thing on the horses, like blinder, something that you, not so much blinders, but some kind of scope that you realize that you don't want to take it beyond certain limits in terms of falsifying information and thinking that and try to generate that as fact.
And I think part of that education is knowing which tool applies to what you're doing, because not every tool applies to every situation. So, for example, I think we had a conversation once with Dr. Barr. We were talking about research, and so a tool that will be a research assistant would be NoteLM. So instead of, for example, going and reading 20 articles from start to end, you can just dump it in NoteLM and look for relevance. Is this going to be relevant? And so you increase the number of resources from 20 to 100 resources. So that's also part of the education.
Yeah, that's an area of research. My area of research, actually, when it comes to AI, it is what is normally referred to as cognitive. It's getting an external tool to do what you would normally do, right?
That takes a lot of time to do.
Yes, it takes a lot of time, right? But you first have to understand how to add and how to multiply before you can effectively use a calculator, right? Otherwise, it just becomes a belief system. You just punch in some numbers and this come out, and you're saying that, well, it must be correct because this actually comes out, right? So we really have to be very cognizant of that AI cannot replace, right? Critical thought, right? AI cannot replace some of the key human thinking activities and academic challenges that they must face so that they can more effectively use AI. And my interest is where is that balance, right? Where is that balance? At which point you have to insist that they do it this way as opposed to with the AI assisted tool.
I would like for us to actually take the conversation to that direction. We are going to wrap up in about 10 minutes. And so we've come to this section where we want final words. And so maybe if we could look at hearing from both of our guests and what you think we need to do as an educational institution to help and ensure that our country is ready for AI, and how can we contribute to minimizing any of the disadvantages and optimizing the advantages of AI, which is present in our community now.
You go first.
Okay. Well, I just want to go back to what you mentioned, that at the university, putting your fingers on the pulse of the nation. So that is key. We have to partner and know what the industries need. We have to know what the employers need, and also embrace what they're using, what tools they're using, and see how we can teach our students how to use these tools to better the industries, no? And improve the economy.
Yeah.
I want to see us be in a position and a bit more into the future where our students themselves have the the foundation principles that Dr. Barrow spoke about, the respect, the ethics and integrity component, the fact-checking kind of stuff, and also be such critical thinkers that they not only embracing AI, but also themselves generating ideas as to how we can use it more when they leave Galen and solve some of our national problems. And I know that there are some students from Galen that are doing some of this already, and I know that there will be more, but I think that if we can take our program in a direction where our students come out and are able to appreciate and embrace, use, design, whatever is the right term, and generate content, solutions, apps, that kind of stuff, I think that we would have not only served the purpose of educating our young people, but also make a major contribution towards our national development. And that critical thinking is analyzing even if you decide to go into a business, how to make your business more efficient, as Hiram has been saying, right? If you work with government and you're dealing with contracts and other stuff, how to set systems in place, or you advertise vacancies, how to move away from, or the minister or somebody within the ministry is selecting the person for you, and you have a model that analyzes the people's application system and gives you a more rational response in terms of who is best qualified for the position. So if you are forced by somebody to say, take this person, you can easily argue, but this person was so far above. And then later on, you can even pull back out that database and say, you know what, this person here is so not performing, but if I had given the chance to this person, I would have had a better opportunity. And those are very simple, if I can use it, of how you can integrate the data to generate results. I use the example of the vehicles just now. I know that there are some companies in Belize like Santander. They're very interactive in terms of from the fuel going into the vehicle. There's a record going to the computer. Everything is very so that the person filling the tank of the tractor cannot easily steal the fuel from that company, right? So those kind of stuff, I want to see us produce students that can develop the programs that we can use and can, because even that has become easier. You don't have to even know to write software anymore. You can just use some of the technology out there and then prepare your own AI, whatever product that you can then launch on the market. So there's a lot of transformation occurring. I want to see our students move in that direction, and I'm glad that the staff and the board and all of those involved in Galen, and we have to have more staff like Hiram. We have to have a whole unit. We have to expand, and I see the future looking bright for this wonderful institution called Galen.
Dr. B?
Well, for me, the most important thing, or the most important role for Galen will be to work with its partners to ensure that the rise of AI does not get out of hand in Belize. Right, does not get out of hand. In other words, that we advance as a society, we adapt the technology, and we try to be as inclusive as possible, right? As inclusive as possible. There are many of our citizens who are on the edges, right? And we need to find ways to include them so that when they start using it, or when they continue to use it, because they will use it, right? They know what are some of the constraints of this particular technology. So it's to make sure that it doesn't reach that point. So although they are both debatable pros and cons of artificial intelligence, its impact on the Belizean ecosystem and on global industry is undeniable, right? It continues to grow every single day, driving the sustainability of not only higher education, but also businesses. And so this is what I think is most important, that this is certainly a call for the need for AI literacy and AI upskilling so that we can prepare our citizens better for current jobs and for jobs in the future.
Yes, and with more conversations like these, we hope that our population and our workforce become less fearful, more embracing, more willing to become AI literate, and to improve and increase efficiency in the workforce and in our country through the use of the tools that are available to us. This is just the beginning of Season 8. There are lots of other really good topics that we will cover this season. We will definitely talk about the possibility of AI bridging that digital divide and reaching to those underserved communities. And so we look forward to much more in this Season 8 of the Galen Hour. Thank you for joining us here tonight. We're going to be here same place, same time next Wednesday between 8 to 9. We're aired live here on Love TV, and we're live streamed on Love FM, Love social media, Facebook, and on Galen's Facebook page. It was a pleasure to have you here with us, Mr. Hiram. Mr. Hugh, thank you for taking time to join us here tonight.
My pleasure too.
Dr. Barrow, I look forward to sitting beside you for the next few weeks to talk about what is really your area of expertise. I'm learning as we sit here, so for me it is fantastic. So thank you for joining us, and have a good night. See you next week for another episode of The Galen Hour.